Yo! Video games.
What up, dudes, and welcome back to Yo Video Games. I'm Matt here, and I've got a new video for you guys, and I'm doing things a little differently because, usually I stream or I, have some sort of other video, but I'm actually going to record this one offline for you guys, just sort of like we can kind of like move on through it real quick, and it's not, it's not so much discussion, but anyways, yeah, Game Awards 2024 announced their nominees for the year and today, and I figured, I have a pretty good track record with predicting what the judges are going to pick. And, and I also figured, why not put my money where my mouth is? I'm going to put it down here. You can use this for reference. You can jump back to it, see how much I got right, see how much I didn't. And I'm going to tell you what I think is going to win. And I'm going to tell you what I would pick as well. So I'll take for each category, we'll go over it. I'll say what will win, what will, what I would pick, and how we feel about it overall. So that's all. That being said, there's a lot of categories to get to and go over, so we're gonna just jump right into it, and let's just jump with an eye towards the future, and that of course is most anticipated game. Now of this list, Grand Theft Auto 6 is going to win. It's not really a question. Obviously you can say, well, Prime 4 has been anticipated for many years, and Monster Hunter Wilds is looking hot and all that jazz. But Grand Theft Auto 6 is going to win this, and it's really not up for debate or even discussion, really. And then I would pick Ghost of Yotei, personally, as my most anticipated game on here. And yeah, Death Stranding 2, Jeff Love Kojima, he's going to pick that. Well, this is voted on by judges, and they're going to pick Grand Theft Auto 6, and sure. But I would personally pick Ghost of Yotei, but hey, it's going to Grand Theft Auto 6. Your next one is Best Adaptation. And I think it's going to be kind of split between Arcane and Fallout, and I think Fallout is actually going to take this. Because we're going to be judging Fallout, brand new as it is. For Arcane, as we already knew it was good. I believe Arcane's already won before. So I think the edge with the judges will go to Fallout. As far as which one I would pick, I haven't watched any of them, so Knuckles. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know. I'd probably give it to Tomb Raider. That look pretty nice. But yeah, Fallout's going to win this from the judges, and I think it's going to be close between that and Arcane. Best multiplayer game is probably going to go to Helldivers 2. I would probably also pick Helldivers 2 as well. I think this is actually kind of a tough one. Because you have Mario parties, and Call of Duty is also always there, and Warhammer is obviously great, but Helldivers 2 kind of really came out and provided a really great, fun, unique multiplayer experience at the start of the year, and really attached to a lot. It was really fun for a lot of people. Sony really screwed it up, later on, but at the end of the day, Helldivers 2 was a fantastic multiplayer experience, and for some people it still kind of is. For other parts of the world, Sony could care less about you, but that's Sony for you. I think judges will pick Helldivers 2. Personally, I would pick Helldivers 2. Best sports and racing. Oh boy, I have no dog in this fight. I think it'll probably go to EA Sports Football Club 25, just because many of the judges are from many parts of the world, which I think is going to make it tough for a game like NBA 2K25, to necessarily win, just because it's not just American judges. So I think it'll go to EA Sports. As for what should win, I don't care. Whatever. Best sim strategy. This one was actually kind of tough, and again, it's not a huge genre. But I think the judges are going to pick Manor Lords, because that definitely had its blow up moment earlier in the year, and it was pretty well received and well regarded, and kind of became one of those phenom games. I would give it to Unicorn Overlord, because Unicorn Overlord was a very, very good ogre battle style game that we don't really get a lot of. We get a lot of turn-based strategy games. We don't get a lot of ogre battle style games, and Unicorn Overlord, which managed to sell 1 million copies, God bless it, was a really good, fun time. And I would give it to Unicorn Overlord, mostly just on the fact that it's one of the few games I've played on this list. I played Kunimitsu, and but yeah, I'd give it to Unicorn Overlord. It's probably going to go to Manor Lords. That's what I'm guessing. Best family game, which is usually pretty much the best Nintendo game category. But this time we actually have someone that's not Nintendo, which is Astrobot and Plucky Squire, a little indie darling game, and it's going to Astrobot. And it should go to Astrobot, but I will say Princess Peach Showtime is a very underrated game. It was a very good game. I think that game is a little slept on. It's certainly no GOTY, but Princess Peach Showtime was actually really fantastic. But it's Astrobot will win this. Astrobot should win this. It will be Astrobot. Best fighting game. Now this one, obviously, for this channel in particular, this is going to be one people are going to focus on a lot. I actually think the judges are going to pick Tekken 8. Mostly because most of these judges don't play a lot of fighting games. There'll be a fighting game guy from one each particular outlet, maybe. And I think Tekken 8 deserves it. I think Tekken 8 was a very well put together, very good fighting game for what it is. I don't personally like Tekken. I don't play Tekken, but I would pick Tekken. I think Multiversus is kind of imploded both financially and critically a bit, and it already kind of got the award when it won in its beta form years ago. I don't think Multiversus is going to do a repeat victory here. I think Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection is obviously very beloved, but it is a collection of classic fighting games. So I think most judges are probably going to just brush it out of their mind on that alone. Grand Blue, I think, is honestly, we can have an honest debate on whether or not, because I think Grand Blue Rising, one of the best looking fighting games ever, period. And Dragon Ball obviously is fantastic if you're a Dragon Ball fan, but I think when you boil everything down to like what is the best fighting game in totality for 2024, I think the judges are going to go with Tekken, and I would go with Tekken 8. So I think it's Tekken 8's to lose. Best RPG, now I don't want to get ahead of myself here, but this one is going to be a split between Rebirth and Elden Ring, and again, they could cancel each other out and let Metaphor come in and win. Unfortunately, Dragon's Dogma 2 and Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth pretty much have no shot of winning anything this year, which is really unfortunate because I really think Infinite Wealth is probably, deserving of much more accolades and praise than it's getting. But I would pick Rebirth personally, and if I were to guess, I would say that it's probably Rebirth with an outside shot. They may give it to Metaphor because Dragon's Dogma, Elden Ring, Rebirth, these are all action RPGs, and only Infinite Wealth and Metaphor are actual turn-based RPGs. So I could see a scenario where an outlet might give Game of the Year to Rebirth, but will give RPG to Metaphor for being a more traditional RPG. So I think it'll go to Rebirth, but I think there's an outside shot Metaphor might take that. And then Best Action Adventure. This is Astrobot. Astrobot's going to win this. I'm really shocked Silent Hill 2 doesn't have more. But I think just looking at the awards and looking how things are, Astrobot's won. This is in the bag for Astrobot as far as the judges are concerned. I would also give it to Astrobot, but I would say that having played all these except Star Wars, these are all very good games, and Star Wars is probably good too. I would give it to Astrobot myself, so yeah, Astrobot. And then you got Best Action Game, which this is such a stupid, weird category. You have 3 shooters and two actual action games, and you can even argue that both Black Myth, Wukong, and Cellblade might even fall into more of the RPG category than in the action category. This is a category that needs a review and a revamp really badly. I think it's probably going to go to Black Myth Wukong. I think that's probably it's going to win that from the judges. As far as what I would do, I've played all of them in some capacity except Warhammer. Probably give it to Helldivers 2 personally, but I just do not agree with how this entire category is categorized. We should not have 2 third-person shooters, a first-person shooter, and 2 action RPGs in the action game category. Fix the category for God's sake. Best VR action. I think this is probably a battle between Metro Awakening and Batman Arkham Shadow. And if I were to guess, and I really don't know, I really have no idea how anyone really feels or swings about VR games, because I'm just kind of like, out of the loop on it, but I think my gut says they're probably going to give it to Batman Arkham Shadow. I think Batman Arkham Shadow is probably going to walk away with the award because it's supposed to be a big, meaty, real-sized, VR game for VR. I hope to be able to stream very soon for you guys, though, both Metro Awakening and Batman Arkham Shadow. So, yeah, I think Batman's going to take it. So I have, and I don't know, these all seem like pretty decent games, but I'm going to say probably Batman takes it. I don't know what I vote for. I can't because I didn't play any of them. Metro. Best mobile game. Balatro is going to win this. Balatro should win this. And it will. The end. Excuse me. Best debut indie game. Now, they have 2 indie categories, probably just to pretend like they care about indies when they really don't. This is basically down between Balatro and Animal Well. Mandalords is maybe in there, but Balatro's gonna win this. Balatro probably should win this. The only thing that kind of like makes this interesting, and I would vote for Balatro, is best independent game and versus debut indie. Balatro will win, definitely be one or both. And Animal Well might take in debut indie game, whereas Balatro will take best independent game, or Balatro will take both. I think Balatro will take both. I think there's with the possibility of Animal Well taking debut. I would personally vote for UFO 50. I think UFO 50 is one of the absolute most impressive video games I've ever seen. It is 50 brand new, wholly original, not based on nothing, completely unique games designed for the one package of UFO 50, which emulates or rather creates a fictional video game company that never existed, and then they made 50 whole video games unique of different genres and different styles and different art styles and graphics and everything. It's basically like saying, like, what if we basically made a compilation of Hudson Soft and included every Hudson Soft game in a 10-year span, or every Data East game in a 10-year span. But then they went and named these devs for UFO 50 went and made 50 completely unique video games, completely standalone titles. It's one of the most impressive things I've ever seen in my life. I would vote for UFO 50. Sorry, Balatro, but UFO 50 is one of the most impressive things video games ever made, personally. Community support, again, this is a very weird one between community support and ongoing. And I think Baldur's Gate 3 is going to take it for the judges. I'm torn between, because most of my experiences with more on Fortnite, Helldivers 2. I don't think this community support was great for Helldivers 2. I think Sony just destroyed that goodwill from that game. So I would probably vote Fortnite, just for, because they actually are really trying. And again, this jumps back into best ongoing, where I think it's probably going to go to Fortnite, because Fortnite has really been trying to add a bunch of stuff to try to. We added a whole racing game, we added a whole rhythm game. We brought Rock Band back. We added a whole Lego Minecraft kind of like survival game. We just added a Ninja Turtles beat 'em up roguelike game. Fortnite's really actually trying to really expand well beyond its borders. So I would give it to Fortnite. I think there's still arguments for Final Fantasy 14. I think 14 and Fortnite do kind of fight it out. Helldivers 2 could have been like, but the thing is Helldivers 2 within less than a year kind of ruined most of its goodwill, just because of how Sony treated that thing, and how Sony screwed over so many countries from even purchasing the game. Games for Impact. This will probably go to Hellblade 2. I would give it to Tales of Kenzara Zao. Having played them, I definitely think Tales of Kenzara definitely plays better than Hellblade 2. But I also think Tales of Kenzara has a fantastic narrative, a really touching, inspiring development story, and it's just a really good game. I think it's a fantastic game. I would give it to this. I think it should be nominated for more than it is, but I would give it to Tales of Kenzara Zao. I think that game should win. It'll probably go to Hellblade 2. innovation and accessibility. This is always a weird one because all these games are doing tons of things. I think it might just go to Dragon Age Veilguard just because it's shocking to me that Dragon Age Veilguard has no presence on this top, on these nominees except for accessibility, when the last game, Dragon Age Inquisition, won Game of the Year in like 2015. So my heart says I have no idea. I think the judges are going to pick Dragon Age. I think the Diablo 4 is a possible upset there, but and as far as what I would pick, I wouldn't pick anything because I'm not really sure how they all go in there. Best performance. This one is odd because I think it's say what you will, but like I have this weird feeling that in a category with four women nominees and one male, it's probably somehow still gonna go to Luke Roberts. Not that Luke Roberts doesn't necessarily deserve it, because I'm like it's a tough role to play a character like James, and it is a really good performance. But like the cynical side of me kind of feels like they're gonna pick Luke because poor Luke, the only guy nominated, like for no other reason than stupidity. I think Melina Juergens could upset this easily, and I would actually pick Melina Juergens personally, having heard not all but some of these, because the thing is okay, I've heard 3 of these performances, and no, I've heard 4 technically, and frankly they're all fantastic. They are all great. Every single one of these people, except for Hannah Tell, I have no idea because I didn't play that game. All of 4 of the 5 that I've heard are all absolutely deserving of this award. On my personal take, I'm gonna be a cynic and say Luke Roberts is just gonna win it, and then with the possible upset from Melina, and I would say I would give it to Melina because that is some tough stuff to do to what they had to act and emote for Hellblade 2. I would give it to Melina, but I have this weird feeling Luke's just gonna take it. But yeah, honestly, would not be personally upset for anyone winning that. Best audio design. It's gonna go to Hellblade 2. It probably should go to Hellblade 2. If it doesn't, if it goes to any other game, I feel it'll be cheated. Even Silent Hill 2, I think Silent Hill 2 is probably number 2 on this, but I'm like, this is Hellblade 2's to lose, and Hellblade 2 should 100% win audio design, and I think it will win audio design, and I would pick it for audio design. And then we have best score and music, the most rigged category. Rebirth is winning this. Rebirth should win this. Metaphor has a great soundtrack. I don't want to knock it. Stellar Blade is good soundtrack too, but it's Rebirth's. It's Rebirth's to lose. And if it somehow doesn't go to Rebirth, something is definitely wrong in Jeff's butthole. Because this absolutely has to be Rebirth. Like, it can't not be Rebirth. It is Rebirth. Like, what are we doing here? Best art direction. This one's a little weird because you have games that strive for hyper-realism despite being in a fantastical setting. You have games that are just going straight for cartoonish, outlandish, and you have things that are just going, I just want to be art. Black Myth Wukong will win this because graphics. I would probably personally vote for Neva. Metaphor is very artsy game, but it is, I don't know, there's something weird and almost sloppy about Metaphor. Like, I don't know, the filters, the way some of the characters kind of look like the elf chick looks like she's she looks like she's a block. Like, she almost looks like she belongs in something from like Gendy Tartakovsky, where everyone else looks like an anime character. I don't know. Metaphor's odd to me. I think I'm just too off-put by its weirdness, but that is a strength as well. So, and it's art. It's an artsy art game, and I'm be real with you, Elden Ring has amazing art direction. It really truly does. Shadow of Erdtree does have amazing art direction. I actually think Astrobot's the weakest art direction on here because it's a little too. Sometimes it has like very, very cartoonish, like American cartoonish stuff, and then it has very, Japanese gashapon styled art. Astrobot feels a little like its art style is a little conflicting between the bots themselves, and then sometimes the more realistic world, and then the really really weird American cartoon, Western cartoony aliens. I think Astrobot's a little too clashing. Black Myth is taking it because graphics. I would give it to Neva. And then narrative. Oh boy. I think there's a real outside shot Silent Hill 2 will win this. I think it should win this. I think it's a little bit of BS because it's like a 20-plus-year-old video game and the story didn't change for the remake. So you're basically taking a game that was always sort of revered for its story and just nominating it again because the remake came out. So I actually think Silent Hill 2 is actually the front runner on narrative. I don't think Rebirth should be on here. I think Infinite Wealth could have been on there, but the story got a little too bloated and padded. Metaphor is pretty great. I don't know. Hellblade 2 is also, I guess, interesting narratively speaking. But I think judges are going to go... I think judges are going to go Silent Hill on this. And if they don't go Silent Hill, they're going to go Rebirth. But I think Rebirth absolutely does not deserve to be in narrative. I don't even think it deserves the nomination because it is part 2 of a trilogy. It doesn't have an ending. Doesn't have a beginning. And it made some interesting choices at the end. It is Hail Mary lobbing this football up. Like, we are going to make a really weird decision that's going to feel really unfulfilling, and we are just hoping that it sticks its landing in part 3. So absolutely not. I actually don't agree with the narrative changes made in Rebirth at all. And I think, the payoff has yet to be seen in the next game. So I actually disagree strongly with Rebirth even being in narrative here. I'd probably vote Silent Hill 2, and I actually think Silent Hill 2 is actually going to take it. Direction, just like in the Academy Awards, is also always weird because you have what's the difference between Best Director and Best Picture. But as far as what's going to take it, I think Rebirth's going to take it just because of the sheer amount of variety and the fact that they crammed so much of the original game and did so many things to take that experience from 97 and rebuild it in a video game. So I think Rebirth is going to take Direction. I honestly do. But I at the same time, I could just see Shadow of the Erdtree just sneaking it in. But again, it's going to be kind of split because should Shadows of the Erdtree be here or not? I think it's fine. But yeah, I'm going to guess Rebirth takes this just for the sheer amount of variety and scope alone, and I would vote for Rebirth on Game Direction. And that leads us to the last one, and that is Game of the Year. And this is where things get confusing. I have actually never been this conflicted ever for the Game of the Year category, and that is because of Shadows of the Erdtree. Shadows of the Erdtree being here, being a DLC campaign requiring the original game, is just throws this whole thing off to me, because I think this was Rebirth's to lose. And Black Myth Wukong is kind of the upset because it actually is not even the highest rated game on this of these games. There were higher rated games that came out this year than Black Myth Wukong. But I think there's something we have to consider. And that is, Black Myth Wukong is going to be a much more personally impactful game to a large part of the world that is not the USA, not Western Europe, not Britain, UK, whatever. And I kind of, we kind of can see that where it's like, you got to look at it like, dude, it's like taking Arthurian legend, for another part of the world and making the most graphically insane video game out of it you've ever seen. So I think it's on here because, again, and let's not forget, the judges panel are people from all over the world. It is not just a Western journalist outlet. It is everywhere. Many countries are represented. Outlets, many outlets from many different countries are on the judges panel, and I think that's probably why Black Myth Wukong is here, and why other higher rated games technically aren't. But again, I have never been this conflicted over where I think they're going to go for GOTY now, and I think at the end of the day, if I were putting money, I think Rebirth squeaks by, but I think we have to really consider the fact that the judges panel might just go, well, you know what? I love Shadows of the Erdtree the most. So Erdtree is going to split the vote away from Rebirth. I think it's going to take away what would have probably just been an easier sweep for Rebirth. And I think this also leads to two other possibilities where because the splitting between Erdtree and Rebirth will be so intense, it might actually offer a path for Black Myth, Wukong, or Metaphor to actually win Game of the Year, just from a much smaller percentage, just because of this decision this year. Unfortunately, I think Balatro is out because indie games are pretty much never allowed to win Game of the Year. Not that it's fair or not that it's right, just because it is. And Astrobot will be, it's well regarded, but it is basically a great Sony version of Mario Galaxy, and cute, colorful 3D platformers don't get to win Game of the Year really either. So again, we're just really struggling here. I think Rebirth still takes it, but barely. I think it's split. And on a personal note, I don't have a problem with DLC campaigns being Game of the Year. I think Future Redeemed was absolutely the best game I played last year. Despite your Baldur's Gate 3s, despite your Tears of the Kingdom, I think Future Redeemed is one of the most perfect RPG campaigns ever. And it is a standalone, unique campaign, unique gameplay, unique cast, unique story, unique area, unique levels, everything. It is its own game. It's just sad that it wasn't split up and sold separately like Torna. But either way, Future Redeemed is 100% was my Game of the Year last year. So I don't have a problem myself with DLC shouldn't be Game of the Year. I don't care if it is. But I think where the problem is that when you look at games like Phantom Library and for Cyberpunk, and you look at like Witcher 3 for some of its DLC campaigns, this feels inconsistent. The optics on the Game Awards is that you put this on here because you cannot stop sucking off From Software's dick. You can't stop. You can't stop, won't stop. And it looks really bad that this comes out just days before the nominees are revealed. And then, I wait, why is this a thing? So, optically, as far as consistency is concerned, I don't think this looks good on the Game Awards at all. I think it makes them look rigged. When suddenly, when FromSoft has a DLC campaign, that gets to be Game of the Year. But highly rated and regarded DLCs like Cyberpunks, like Witcher 3s, like Xenoblade 3s, when they are not considered at all for Game of the Year, even though they have the critical acclaim, that sure does look one-sided, doesn't it? So, yeah, I think optically this should have been forthcoming January of this year. They should have said Shadows of Erdtree is totally not eligible for Game of the Year, so at least maybe get it out of the way, way ahead of time. But the way this transpired, the way this is coming out, I think this looks bad on Game Awards. It definitely looks like they have an agenda, they have a bias, and the thing is that of course they do, because that's how these award shows work. And that's what I've been trying to say forever, and which is why I usually have such a good track record with predicting the winners, because they're predictable. I don't think it's rigged. I just think it's very predictable where most of these media outlets gravitate towards. But that being said, I think there's going to be dissent amongst the judging and the media outlets over whether or not Shadows of Erdtree should be Game of the Year or not. I think there'll be actual dissent, and I think that's going to split the vote up. I think it's going to take votes away from other games, give them to Erdtree, and then Erdtree will not get the full support that Elden Ring got because it is a DLC. So it's actually going to make this more confusing. I still think Rebirth squeaks by. I would personally pick Rebirth. Of these 6 games nominated, and I have played all of them, I would absolutely put Rebirth at as my Game of the Year from this list, 100%. And I think it's still I think it squeaks by, but just barely. And there's a part of me that's like, yeah, man, if Erdtree does win, the bias is really, really real. And if Black Myth or even Metaphor comes in and Dark Horse candidate wins, I wouldn't be surprised necessarily. But the only reason Black Myth, Wukong, or Metaphor would possibly win this is because Erdtree shook the foundations, rippled the water too much. So, yeah, I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem with DLC campaigns being Game of the Year, but the way the Game Awards has handled it in the past versus how they're handling it this year, it looks really bad on them. It looks like they definitely have an agenda. So that's kind of on you, Jeff. This was your mess that you made. But you know, that being said, again, this is the most conflicted I've ever been for Game Awards. I'm usually pretty solid on this, on what I think will go to it, but if I was putting money down, if I was in Vegas and I'm putting money on the table, I'm putting $5 on Rebirth still. Both personally, you know, personally yes, but also I think it still squeaks by. But yeah, let me know what you guys think of the nominees and who you would pick and who should win. And maybe who's not on here that should be on here. So let me know what you guys think in the comments, and I will see you on the channel. Later, dudes.